Lumbridge is one of the most nostalgic places for longtime RuneScape players, and one of the most important places for new and old players alike. Whether you are a new player or a longtime returning player, there is a lot to do here and a lot you might not know about Lumbridge, so in this video we're going on a walking tour to explore. Good day everybody. In old school RuneScape, Lumbridge is still the beginner tutorial starting town. In RuneScape 3, this is now Berthorpe. But there are still a lot of tutorial learner elements here. Let's start with the castle. The first thing you'll want to check out on the castle is the bank. This is on the top floor of the castle. For a new player especially, this is extremely useful. There's not much else on the roof except for a flag you can raise here for an achievement diary task. Yay. And speaking of the Duke, on the second floor of Lumbridge Castle, you can find the Duke of Lumbridge. He is important for a few quests. He will give you your anti-fire shield after you start Dragon Slayer. And in this room, you can also start the Lost Tribe quest, which kicks off the long chain of Goblin quests. There's also a handy spinning wheel here, if you need it. Moving along, back downstairs, the other first thing you'll probably be doing in Lumbridge is speaking to the cook to start the Cook's Assistant. This is one of the most basic RuneScape quests. And also the very first, if I'm not mistaken. It's also a prerequisite for the 100th RuneScape quest, Recipe for Disaster, which also starts at the cook here, who, as you speak to him more and more and progress through quests, realize is completely incompetent, and you wonder how he even has a job. Moving along, in the courtyard, you can find this man named Hans. He can sell you veteran capes of 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, or 20-year, depending on how old your account is. In real time, I mean, not just game time. He can also tell you, if you don't know how old your account is, exactly that by asking him. Moving along outside the castle, we have the church. This is where you start the Restless Ghost quest, which is your first big bump in prayer experience, and the Ghost Speak amulet, which is really important for the rest of the game. You can also talk to the father here to look at whatever gravestones you want to appear when you die. Right next door is Bob's Axes. He can repair degradable equipment for you, and also sell you basic beginner level axes. Next to that is the Cemetery of Lumbridge with the beginner dungeon, the Lumbridge Catacombs. Here, you can start the Blood Pact quest, a beginner level quest that introduces you to basic combat and opens up a dungeon for you with a lot of low-level monsters you can train on. Also, the corpse spiders in here are one of the most popular ways for players to farm spiders once you unlock your player-owned farm. There's also a boss at the very end that it's not hard if you're a higher level player, but we'll give you some challenge if you're a lower level player. Back outside, you'll find the Lumbridge Sage, which can give you useful tips on Lumbridge if you want to know a little bit more. And over here, you'll find the Doomsayer. He has some humorous dialogue, but is mostly important because he can help you open up the toggle warnings menu here, which takes you to your settings and allows you to disable warnings for various areas that you can go into. They can get pretty annoying, so it is nice to turn those off. Anywho, we'll move south now and check out the Lumbridge Swamps and all that has to offer. As we stroll over there, a bit of trivia about Lumbridge. It's theorized, at least on the wiki, that Lumbridge may be inspired by Cambridge, the headquarters of Jagex, the makers of RuneScape. Also, Lumbridge has gotten the most graphical reworks of all places in RuneScape, also according to the wiki. At least 5 graphical reworks or so since the beginning of RuneScape, so it's very detailed in that way. At the entrance of the swamps, you can find this Fremennik warrior. He can take you to Elite Dungeon number 3, the Shadow Reef. If you are a low-level player, you do not need to worry about this. However, using this travel can be beneficial even if you are low-level, because once you're at the Shadow Reef, the entrance to Daemonheim, where you train dungeoneering, is directly to the west, a short walk away. Also, the Elite Dungeon chest here can teleport you to various locations, such as Elite Dungeons 2, the Dragonkin Laboratory, that's in Deep Wilderness, Elite Dungeons 1, which is in the Ark on Amonishi, and the Zamorakian Undercity, once you unlock the ability to go to Sentiston, I think. I don't know if you need to unlock that. Anyways, it's not important. And using the Fremennik Warrior here, you can also travel conveniently to Kharid or Taverly docks. By the way, if you are really just fresh starting out and you're in Berthorpe, you can go south to Taverly and the docks here, and this boat will take you directly to Lumbridge. And then you can just activate the lodestone in Lumbridge, and ta-da, you have infinite teleports to there. Returning to the swamps, you can find a few basic low-level skill training spots here, such as a fishing spot for basic netting and baiting low-level fish. Right next to that is a low-level mining spot for copper, tin, and clay. This is great when you're just starting out a fresh account. To the north of that is this nexus, which is a really creepy thing with hands coming out of the ground. This is meant as a low-level prayer training spot. I have never used this, and as far as I know, you will never really need to, because quests like the Restless Ghost and other prayer training methods are a lot better. You can give it a whirl though for fun. I think there's probably achievements associated with it too. At least Lumbridge Diary achievements. Moving along, this shack looks innocent, but once you are done with the Lost City quest, spoiler alert, it will give you access to the fairy city of Zanaris. The Lost City quest is a low-level medium quest at this point, and gives you access to the Dragon Longsword and Dragon Dagger. You can start that quest by speaking to the warrior here. And just next to this encampment of adventurers is this ominous-looking minigame spot for Shattered Worlds. Shattered Worlds is worth playing for a while, as you can unlock greater dazing shots, the greater ranged ability, as well as bladed dive for melee. Directly to the north of that is the Water Altar. This is where you will be runecrafting water runes. Lastly, in the swamps, there is a dungeon entrance here to the Lumbridge Swamps dungeon. You need a light source. I don't have one, but there are several low-level Slayer creatures to train on here, and some events of the Goblin quest line take place in there. Also, I found Jambon. Jambon. Jambon is the Spanish pronunciation, I suppose. This pig is not specific to the Lumbridge Swamps. He wanders all over the world, and I've seen him in various places. I've never tried to prod him, but I guess that's what happens. Moving out of the swamps, we go north to the Lumbridge Crater, as it's now called. This was a nice, empty patch of land with trees and goblins and such, but as of one of the first global world events introduced a while back, this was the site of various holiday events and a cataclysmic battle between Zamorak and Saradomin after gods returned to Gielinor. Hopefully there will be more holiday events here in the future. It seems like they've moved to another area, but I thought they were really fun when they were here. If you wish to reminisce or see the events of the Zamorak vs. Saradomin cataclysmic battle that happened here, you can actually talk to this Saradomin priest right outside the castle and review cutscenes for the opening and ending of those battles. Moving farther north, I did mention that there is still content here relevant to higher level or older players, and that wasn't just to keep you hooked. You'll see as we approach the marketplace. So first of all, the marketplace has shops for a lot of basic fishing supplies here, which is really handy. There's also Explorer Jack's little house here, where you can start the Myths of the White Lands quest, and also get achievement diary rewards from Lumbridge. And the real bread and butter of the marketplace is the actual marketplace center itself here. There is a bank chest, which is great, and there are stalls that you can practice low-level thieving on. And as you can see, I'm actually in World 84, which is the portable skilling world. This is still a popular spot for skilling in groups with pull scores and all that kind of stuff that players can use to benefit from each other and get more experience. And if you come here during a double experience event, you will see that it is totally packed, and it is a great place to train with your protein items and pull scores and all that kind of stuff. A little further to the north, there are some points of interest. There is Fred the Farmer, who can help you get started with the Sheep Shearer mini quest. It used to be a full quest in old school RuneScape, now it's a mini one. Not that important, honestly. Anywho, the Lumbridge Mill is just to the west of that. You'll use that for at least one quest to get some kind of special flower. And even more north, there are cows and this Beefy Bill guy, who in the early game or for early iron accounts can trade you some things that are actually pretty useful, like buckets of water in bulk, jugs of water, pie dishes, things like that. The last very important thing to know about this marketplace outdoor area is that this is the home of the Thieves Guild if you enter the trapdoor here. This is where you start the Thieves Guild quests, buyers and sellers being the first one, where you find Guildmaster Darren and Head Thief Robin. Anyways, completing this quest line will get you access to safe cracking, which is the best form of thieving experience by far, and pretty decent money once you hit at least level 61 thieving, I think. Yeah. In the Thieves Guild, there's also this guy here, Dodgy Derek, who will sell you items that you can get by with points earned from safe cracking. They are very useful for thieving. And he also has some general store items like lockpicks, which are otherwise hard to find, but important for a number of quests. Also, to the east side of the Thieves Guild here is one of the best ways to train thieving until you get to safe cracking. You do that by basically just opening the doors here, picking them open, and then hopping worlds, because they take about 5 minutes in each world to slam shut again. But yeah, I don't know if this is the best method to get to your 60s in thieving, but it is, at least it was, a very popular one. Now it's time to explore the outskirts of Lumbridge across the bridge of the River Lum. The first thing you'll see crossing this bridge is this heap of rocks, an old mine entrance, which you can right-click lockpick to get access to the ham hideout. But more on that in a second, because we must talk about the cow farm. This is nostalgic for players that have been around a while, because this is where you killed your first cows, got your first few combat levels, got your raw beef, cut your trees, got your cow hides, and then cooked your beef for your first sources of food. Nowadays, it's not really the best way to do that in RuneScape 3. In old school RuneScape, you'll see that this is still a semi-popular spot. Not really. And here's something new I learned. There's actually this signpost here, and it tells you how many cows were killed today in this cow field. And it looks like I'm the only cow murderer, so, you know, this is definitely not... Yeah. Sorry, cows. This is an outdated training method. An equally outdated training method is just up to the north a bit, where there is a chicken farm. If you're low level and are having trouble finding feathers or raw chickens for some reason, there's a good spot. Although Burthorpe also has plenty of cows and chickens for you to train on. Anywho, back to that ham hideout. HAM stands for Humans Against Monsters, and they're RuneScape's most famous bigot group that is against all form of non-human creatures. The main thing to do here is proceed with some key elements of the Goblin quest line, as well as just pickpocket ham members for various junk and probably thieving experience that's not worth it anymore at this point in RuneScape history. Probably the most useful thing to do on this side of Lumbridge is take part in the God Statues Distraction and Diversion. It is a monthly one, which means you can participate in it once a month, and it gets you heaps of construction experience and then your choice of Slayer or Prayer experience. I think by the time I was done with it here, I actually got Prayer experience even though I picked Slayer. I think because my Slayer is level 120 and my Prayer is not. I don't know. But anyways, this is handy. This is not the only location of a god statue that exists. They exist in like Taverly and outside of Yano and a few other places. But yeah, they're, especially if you're still leveling Construction, Prayer, and Slayer, definitely do this every month. And now we close out our walking tour by heading back to the River Lum, where you can fly fish for salmon and trout. This is a pretty good low-level fishing training spot, actually, until you get to barbarian fishing or desert souls in Menaphos. And there you have it. That's Lumbridge in a nutshell. Everything you can do, well, at least everything I can think of, that you can do as a new or old player. If you're still watching, thank you very much. I appreciate your support a whole lot. If you like this video and enjoyed this content, and if you'd want to see more walking tours of different regions of RuneScape, let me know. And please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel for even more content. There are many, many more interesting areas of RuneScape to explore with this. I hope that this helps new players get started. I know that it is rough to get into RuneScape as a brand new player that was not playing already 15 years ago. And even for old players, maybe you learned a thing or two here as well. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next one.